All right, you grasshoppers. What a day this is. What a thrill for us today. The great Mike Allison is joining us from Fort Francis, Ontario. Fort Francis, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right, guys. So Dave Maloney's here with us. Our IT expert, Ron Greshner, has made it on once again. Rod Duguay, I think we're losing him. He had to go fishing. That's what he said anyways. I don't know what he's fishing for. But we have the great Mike Allison. Mike Allison and I turned pro together in 1980-81. We were both rookies. So real thrill. How you doing, Red Dog?
I'm great, Tom. And you talk about 1980. When I went to that training camp, you were the man at the training camp. Like coming from Northern Michigan, you and Steve Weeks coming.
That's right.
After having all the success there, that was always the big name when we went to training camp that year.
Couple college guys, right, Gresh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I went to college.
We see a Tommy, a couple college guys coming in.
Really helped me a lot. Northern Michigan University, the Harvard of the West.
Yeah, well, only one thing stopped me from going to college. High school.
Yeah.
So, Red, how you doing? Good?
Great.
Yeah?
Great.
So,
yeah,
we were talking before the show started. You, when you finished talking, you got into working for the Border Patrol. Is that what it was? Up in Fort Francis?
Well, it was, I did a number of things. Actually, you had got me into broadcasting with the Kings for a while.
Yeah.
My father got sick, moved back to Fort Francis. I was always going in summers to get a education degree. So I taught for a little bit. I didn't like it. It was the hardest job by far I ever had. I got out of that and I went to work and I finished up with the Customs, Border Patrol. So that's where I retired from.
You were teaching.
I taught. That was hard. Oh my. If you think of three younger guys like you in a classroom, how difficult that would be to control. And
yeah.
So
well, now you know what, Dave. Now you know what Dave and I myself felt like when you guys got there.
Hey, Mike, take us back to that first training camp, and what are your memories of that?
Honestly, when I said earlier, Tom, when I came into training camp, two things. Ron Duguay isn't here, but I flew in on the same flight as Ron did from Sudbury. That's where I played junior, and I happen to have another year left of junior, but I was on the flight with Ron, flew in. He was in first class. I saw him when I came through. But as we disembarked and we went to the baggage claim, I had the Sudbury Wolf bag, and so he came over and introduced himself. And all I remember that he was going in the city, and we were going. I think White Plains was where the team stayed at training camp. But he said to me, "Kid, I've been here 4 years. If I can give you one set of advice, I've got the clothes on the back, I got a nice fur coat, and a car. Save your money." And I always remembered that. And then went to training camp, and it was Freddie at the time that was a coach. And what a different I loved him. He was great to me, but it was a real different world with Fred Shiro as the coach. So it was just
that wasn't the camp in Richmond, Crash. Where's that camp in?
No,
in Rye.
Right in Rye.
In Rye.
That was at Playland.
Oh, you mean when you got mugged, Dave?
Yeah, that was the season before. That was fun.
You got mugged? Where'd you get mugged?
Well,
in a hotel in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah.
Training camp that was the fall of '79, right?
Yeah. So Dave somehow he's tied up and he calls me, right? And the team was away playing. So he calls me on the phone. So he goes, I got mugged. So I'm the floor above him, right? Or the floor below him. So I'm looking around for something. I grab a clothes hanger. I go to the door, run up the stairs, and I'm going, what happened? These guys are coming down.
Yeah.
So I open the door and I look up, nobody's coming. So I go up and there's Dave in his room tied up.
They tied you up.
Yeah, two guys came in. Thing I can remember, is there were 5 or 6 of us. The team was playing an exhibition game.
Yeah.
And there were some of the guys, kind of the veteran guys. We weren't playing. We had dinner, and I remember going back to the hotel. And the last thing I remember was Saturday Night Live was on the TV, and then shortly thereafter, I rolled over and a guy had a gun in my head, right? So there were 2 guys in the room, and they taped my legs together, taped my arms behind my back, and then they rifled through the room and took anything that they thought they could get rid of in a hurry. So then they put a towel in my mouth, which I'm sure a lot of people would have thought had that gun
Yeah.
Anyway,
That was the only time you couldn't talk in your life.
and the only thing I could do, I remember I clicked the phone off and I rang Gresh's room. So then I was able to hop to the door when he came, and I saw him stalking around the corridors with the wooden coat hanger. He was going to help. Yeah, he was going to battle off the bullets with the coat hanger.
Yeah.
So that was my experience in Richmond. But anyway, enough of that. But so Mike, dude went into the city and you went out to White Plains, and that bit of advice kind of stuck with you.
Oh, it stayed with me. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Until he wore that fur coat one day in wintertime. I thought that was pretty cool, but there was no way I could afford that.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, of all the guys I played with, I thought you and Janny Erickson were the two most underrated players to play for our team.
Oh, don't be sucking up to him.
I know. I swear to God, you weren't the fastest guy, but you always got the job done. You always did so many great things out there. It was an enjoyment to play with you. And
well, we get a question from Helene Elliott, who used to write for the New York Times and writes for the LA Times now. She wants Mike to talk about the poem he wrote to us. I don't remember that. Did you write us a poem?
I was I was injured and I was home, and I did write some ridiculous poem on the return of the team. It was just about. I think it was about how perceptive Ron was, because he just made that comment about Jan Erickson and I always said he was smart. Ron saw a lot of things that no one else saw.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
He was giving you that good soil Saskatchewan kind of philosophy, right, Gresh?
Well, I was the top of my class. Cool. Well, the tallest anyway.
But that was quite a year, Mike. You had 60 plus points, right? I mean, your rookie year was a hell of a year.
Now, do I pretend I don't remember? I know, or do I go exactly to the number because I know right off the top of my head? No, exactly. It was interesting. It was always it said it's the only good year the kid had. That's what they say. So it was a good year. Yeah, it was exciting for me. I mean, I got lots of direction. I thought we had a wonderful squad. I mean, mature, smart. You guys had been to the Stanley Cup just a year or two before, and really provided good direction to the young players. And then Tommy was actually a veteran right off the bat. I mean, I know he's not going to say that, but he was. He came in as a man, as a veteran, and fit right in. And where a couple of us younger kids were struggled with the transition, but eventually figured it out with leadership from the other people.
Mike, that you don't get paid to do this show. You don't have to pay Tommy.
Yes, he does. Keep going, Red Dog. Keep going. No stop.
He sounded like a grasshopper. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So when I knew Mike was coming on, I started thinking of some of the things we went through together. I remember we had a little Ron Greshner was getting married, and we had a little get together at the pub, a little establishment in Rye. I don't know if you guys remember this, and we were closing it off for everybody. And this place, Herb Brooks was our coach, and he hated the pub because he couldn't go there. It was just players only, and we was going to close off so nobody else could come in, just the team. So we said, Herb, you can come in just this one time. And remember the postal worker, Bob Bender?
Yeah.
So Bob was this great guy, loved the region, like kind of like a little mascot to us almost. And he was a little bit overweight and liked to sit in this little establishment most of the day. And he was all nervous that Herb was going to be coming in there and he's going to meet Herb. So I think he was sitting around all day, having a few adult beverages and eating too much bad food. And when we were all sitting there watching this interaction with Bob Bender and Herb. And remember, Herb has never been in this place, so it's been in there like 5-10 minutes. And so Bob Bender, you can just see him. He looks like he's gonna he's inhaling, like we're all thinking, oh God, he's gonna blow. And within about 5 minutes of talking to Herb, he threw up on Herb's shoes. Yeah, that's Herbie's first and only time in the pub. That's hilarious. I
remember the wedding dress. When you walked in, it was out in Long Island, right?
Yeah.
And they had half on one side were all the Islander fans, and they were booing the hell out of the Gresh and cheering for Carroll. And the other side were the Ranger fans. It was like being at the Garden, for God's sakes.
Yeah. So Red, how many years did you have in New York?
I'm sorry, Tom, were you speaking with me?
Yes. How many years in New York?
I played 6 years.
6 years, that's right.
Actually, I was the first when Phil came in. Phil was there my first year. He retired halfway through that year, but he came in as GM, and I was the first trade he made. After
Did I get along or what when you played together or what?
I have great respect for Phil, and because I always thought when he was going in the dressing room that that first year he had such an impact. When he was fired up, it seemed the team got got fired up. I always remember that about him. But it was funny, and I never even heard from him because I was driving back to New York the day I got traded. I was in the summer, and I was with Jerry Maloney. Do you remember the trainer, Jerry Maloney?
Oh, yeah.
He and his daughter and I dated for, and so I was driving back with her. She had been Fort Francis visiting, and I stopped in Minneapolis at my two of my buddies and their wives. And I phoned the Rangers. I'm going to get a better deal for us at the hotel. I'm just very frugal. Anyways, the trainer got on and said, "Oh my God, Mike, you've been traded today." And that's so Phil traded me. Never ever told me I was traded. Thank God it was.
Thank God you were frugal.
Oh my God! I would have got to New York. See you later. She jumped me right away. She flew back to New York big time. Didn't want to go to Toronto. So
back in 1 minute.
Are we bothering you to get someplace to go or what?
Good. It is the bathroom break.
There's somebody at my front door.
Okay. Do you want us to wait?
You want to come down and answer, Tom? You can next week. But
All right. Good. And how many years did you have in Toronto then?
a year and a half in Toronto, then 2.5 with LA.
LA.
When I came,
Mike, how was playing in Toronto? How was that?
Toronto was of all the three places I played in, it was by far my least favorite. Not because, but you were under the microscope all the time.
Yeah, right.
You really were. You couldn't get away from it. You couldn't turn on the TV. Couldn't pick up a newspaper. And as much as we all try not to look at it, it's hard not to hear about it. And the guy who was traded for was Walt Podubny. He scored 40 that year with the Rangers.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
And
Right.
and I could. Toronto was a very quiet building. That was before the like every time a stoppage comes, now they turn on music or they turn on something. Back then it was quiet. And I can remember I was lined up at the blue line. I was playing right wing, and some guy from the Golds, which was behind the net, anyways, yelled out, "Allison, you're a bum! Bring back Podubny!" I mean, it was just you could hear everything. New York. I don't know if you. I mean, I was young, single. New York was fabulous, and then to end in LA, where you didn't have all that same sort of attention on you at the end of your career when you're a role player, it was fabulous. So Toronto in between was when you're struggling, when you're not doing well, it can be difficult. The professional hockey life. Yeah. You guys never went through that, so how would you know that?
Yes, we did. Yeah. Gresh, was that Chloe?
No, that was the guy coming to cut my grass. But I told him, I said, "Here's the deal. If you want to cut the grass instead of my son cutting it, he's 6'5", 350. You go talk to him."
All right. So Dave, you know what? I'm glad you're on here, Dave. Last week when you weren't on, Gresh was telling us an old girlfriend he had named Chloe. Do you remember her?
Was that from?
Listen, you're talking about the 70s. We don't remember too much from the 70s.
Well, Dave does. Dave remembers.
But I remember one thing about the 70s because today,
I remember her.
46 years ago today, me and Dave got drafted.
Okay, don't change the subject. I'm asking Dave about Chloe, see if he remembers. Dave, you remember Chloe?
Was she the dark-haired girl from the beach out in Long Beach?
No, another one.
Oh my!
Listen, like Mike just said, New York was a very nice town, and I was single.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't know you dated Jerry Maloney's daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
She ended up marrying Greg Adams, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
She went downhill there.
Yeah.
Downgraded.
You went uphill. Let me tell you that she did.
I'm good.
And Jerry just passed away, right?
Yeah, just a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He's a great guy. Remember when Jerry, and we love Jerry, but Jerry had a real bad stuttering problem. And especially when he got on the phone, right? I think he called Steve Vickers' wife one time from the rink and trying to send some message, but he kept stuttering. She thought it was some pervert on the phone. And she's yelling at him. So we had to pick up the phone and tell her, no, it's Jerry passing on a message. He's a great guy.
So I remember, did you at one point, did you play with Hedberg and Nielsen, Mike, early? Did you play with those guys?
Right off the right at the start of the season. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been something. You're filling the role of Bobby Hall, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No. I mean, they were great. That's why I got off to a good start, and then I ended up with Don, your brother Don, and Eddie Johnstone at the last half of the year because Alf got hurt. Alf got hurt, so he was out for most of the year.
Right. There's Nate, right?
Phil retired. Walt got hurt. Walt Kachuk got hurt, and Alf Nielsen got hurt. So there's the three top centers they had going into that season, and they're all hurt. So I mean, I probably you mentioned the points. Probably got a lot of points, but my plus minus was probably about minus 30. You know, I mean, no one.
Oh, that was because of goaltending. That wasn't because of
bad defense, I think.
Yeah. That defense you're playing in front of, right?
Yeah. And that's why we were strong that year, is because of our defense. And I'm looking at three of the greatest. I mean, that was they would just put that puck right on your stick and you'd be back checking because the stick they put it on was the other team.
Here, I was going to say, Mike, you can come on as a regular now.
Yeah, we're giving it a deuce.
Yeah, you were lucky to get to that year because that was the year of the brawl, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In LA?
In LA. Yeah.
Oh, that's in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I remember that one. We talked about that a few weeks ago, didn't we? Yeah. Oh my God, that was brutal. Because Nicky throwing it was Nicky was off the ice, right?
Nicky got off the ice,
yeah. He was trying to get on the ice.
He was pounding that guy against the glass off the ice. The guy that grabbed Hospital or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you came up and there's a guy like Ron Greshner in the locker room, like it was like intimidating. Like how'd you feel being with Ron Greshner? Like I remember I told a story a while ago. We were in Orton and Redskins one night, and I was talking to a couple of young ladies. And I thought I'd be really a gentleman to help Ron out a little bit. So I went to introduce him to the two girls, and he looked at me like, "Tom, it's not my first time in the bar, right?" So made me feel like a small human being. Like was he like that with you? Or?
No,
that's not exactly the way I said it, Tom. But that's close.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought that team was you always have a couple of players or a couple of teammates you don't necessarily get along with, but but I thought Ron was fabulous. Ron was fabulous to me right throughout my whole career. He really was. He was a gentleman. I mean, he always had a kind thing to say.
Where do I send a check? I mean,
I didn't have too many.
No.
I mean, I was a pain in the ass. You know, you're a 19-year-old kid having a good year. You think you're pretty hot, and you probably think you're better than you are. And sometimes you say the wrong thing.
I don't think you did that. I don't remember that.
No.
Yeah.
I thought we had a bunch of good guys. I had never played with that many. There's only a few guys I can say out of 16 years that I thought were sometimes over the line. You know.
Yeah.
And that, that's up to 200 and some players. You know.
And you talk about my first exhibition game I played in. We were on the bus in Rye. And I was swimming with Jim Malone. Jim Malone was the drafted the same age, same year I was. And I remember Dave coming up to us in the bus and, walking down and just saying, hey, congratulations, coming to your first game, something along the lines, know that you'll be okay on that ice. We're going to look after you, this team. So, and that goes a long way to he was 18. He was a year younger than I was, Jimmy Malone. And we just felt good. Okay. That's what you want to do that or hear that from somebody that they've got your back.
Yeah, the veteran guys were pretty good. Like the Steve Vickers and the Walt Kachuks and all those guys. Or Carol Vadney was fantastic to me. Yeah, it's true.
Well, you talk about the veterans. If I could just jump in here, that we went to. I think we had 9 or 10 exhibition games. And I didn't have to play in the last exhibition game. It was. I obviously, I figured I guess I made it, so I didn't have to go. And the team went on the road. It was on the road, and it was Alfie Anders, I think Steve Vickers, and they said we're going out tonight. So I come from Ontario, where the bar closes at 1:00. So I'm a 19-year-old. I'm going to have a few before 1:00 rolls around. Well, by the time they pulled me out of there about 3:15, because it went to 4:00. I mean, they had to carry me back to the. No one told me it was 4:00. That was like the New York, but that was in not the Rye, but the one Muggenale, I think it was.
Yeah, Muggenale.
Yeah. So they had taken, and here's all these guys. I don't mean they were probably all single back then, but man, if they weren't, I'd hate to be their wives back then. I'm making that part up. I'm making that part up.
No, we've got that taped, Red Dog. That's taped now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I never sit out that late ever.
No.
I don't mean to. I keep jumping in here. We had a Halloween party down at I think it was Elaine's. Was there Elaine's disco place in
Lane's was on the east side, right?
Yeah.
We had a Halloween party down there.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
I ended up, I drove with Willie Huber, and everyone was there. The team was there, and I was just having a fabulous time. And we had been at Ron's place, thankfully, before for drinks. Anyways, I ended up, Willie left me, and I was the last one there. I had $20. I was $20 hidden in my sock because I didn't have a wallet. I took a cab to Ron's place, and the doorman let me sleep in the mail room. And he says, I'll make sure Ron gets you for practice in the morning. So Ron comes down in the morning. I'm on the floor sleeping in my Halloween outfit. And he grabs me and he takes me out to ride for practice. So who does that to a teammate? Willie. You know, God rest his soul.
You know who had a lot of
Did
fun
you pay for
with?
postage? Did you have postage on them?
The guy wouldn't let me knock on Ron's door or buzz him. You can go sleep in the mailroom.
Red, one of the funniest nights I remember with you was we were in that the pub, the little establishment there in Rye, and James Patrick, who's a great teammate, but wanted to be called James. And I don't know how we got on this about like why do you want to be called James? And you got going on this whole thing about there was a place in Fort Francis called Big Jim Sports Camper, right? Am I right?
Look at how he shifts it over to somebody else to do it. He's always the guy behind you just going, come on, Mike, say this, Mike, say this.
Red got going on this Big Jim Sports Camper. It's called James Patrick Big Jim. And that was hilarious. Do you remember that night?
And he flipped out. But it's Tom, Mike, say this to him. Say this to him.
I remember James Patrick is so funny because I would be a total jerk to him, like tease him or whatever, and he would get mad and snap at me, and he would sulk for about a week. He wouldn't talk to me, and then he would come back and apologize to me. I was the one that started the whole thing, but he would go back because he didn't talk to me for a week, and he would come and apologize. So he was a good guy.
Yeah, he was good. But yeah, the injuries were a factor, right, Mike? As your career went along.
I sure love to use that excuse, but the injuries, sure, but it was also just I wasn't as good as I thought I was. I mean, you hang around and you change your. That's what Herbie did. Herbie was very difficult on a few of us. I think Tommy was one of them at the start. Herbie was very Chris Kostopoulos.
Yeah.
Maybe for reason, but he changed my game, which kept me around. He made me much more responsible and injuries. I had a few. I also underperformed when I look back on it. There's no doubt in my mind that I probably didn't get the full extent of. But looking back on hindsight's 2020. Hopefully, so yeah.
Sure.
I think your game just changed, Brad. I don't think you went from being maybe whatever thought you were going to be a great offensive guy, but defensively, right? I remember in LA, man, I thought you were fantastic defensively as a centerman, winning faceoffs, killing penalties, and all that. So,
well, I mean, I had to change my game to continue on, and thankfully, Herbie taught the game. That's one thing he really taught the game to me, and I give him a lot of credit for that. But he was tough. He was tough on some of them.
So, Dave, go back real quick. When you got mugged in the hotel and you get tied up, is that where you guys found a way to tie up Katsu when you initiated him? Is that where you tied him up?
It took more than tying up to get that big fella down.
No one person was big enough, though.
Oh, God.
Did they ever get you, Gresh? Did you ever get initiated?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I got it after we had a little golf outing out on that second training camp with Ron Stewart. We had a little golf outing, and we were at some seafood place after, and I got it there. They got me in there. And the worst thing, what I can remember, I was so pissed at Gilles Marat because Marat was. I was going to take a baseball bat to. Remember the car he had, Gresh?
Yeah,
They called it like the Batmobile.
The
Yeah.
Batmobile was like some Chrysler or
I'm
something.
telling you, because he was the ringleader. And I think probably as it turned out, us young guys were probably taking his job. And then they put a bunch of Tabasco and ketchup and these fried. Remember the fried boots? You guys ever wear fried boots? Remember those boots at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They ruined my fried boots. And then, but Phil, who instigated the whole thing, talked me off the level, off the shelf, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, you weren't that crazy.
Oh man, I
You were
was
like,
so
you know,
mad. And then once you get done, once it's over, you're like, oh, all right. Yeah, I guess that wasn't so bad. But
yeah,
there was some initiations along the way, though. They got
Cool.
pretty ugly.
You didn't get initiated, did you?
I got initiated. I was teed off like you were, Dave, when it happened. It was out in Vancouver in the dressing room. But then I remember they shaved my head right here, and I just said I'm leaving it. I'm leaving it. I was so mad. I just so I they said, oh, you got to shave your head right down. I said, no, I'm going to leave that haircut like that. I mean, to myself, but I was mad. I didn't. I thought it was uncalled for.
I had nothing to do with anything. I never got involved in all that stuff.
I never did. Honestly, I never did after. I can remember though when they got. Remember when they got Marquis Slip in Chicago?
Yeah, I know. We tied him to
a coffee
table and sent him down in the elevator. We tied his mouth shut. I mean, he couldn't move, and he was cut up a little bit. And we put a towel over him. He was bleeding. And I remember going down in the elevator with him, and the people getting in the elevator, they start screaming. I go, he's not.
And Nicky was there, right?
Yet. So liar.
Yeah.
Didn't Ron just say he never got involved in that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I lied. I was talking to one of my ex-wives.
Just the one time.
But anyway, they got me in Chicago in the executive house. I walk into my room. There's 3 big trays of beer, and on ice, right? In ice, and I'm going. I'm done. I turn around to leave, and I turn around. The door's just going closed, and the door opens up, and there's like all the guys standing in the doorway, and they all come in. Oh, you got a beer for us, Ron? I go like, okay.
Yeah.
Just so all our listeners know, that doesn't happen anymore. This is
well, it started to phase out. Towards the end of my career in the mid '80s, it was. Yeah, because it was still left over, I think, from the old 6-team league days when they traveled on the trains, and then there were very seldom rookies, right? Because the league was so small, and then anybody that was coming up, I think, threatened the guys that had been there for a long time.
Right.
So I didn't take it there, and I never took part in one. I remember Don telling me they went to get him in New Haven, brother Don, and he took his stick and took it in his hands and said, okay, first guy that comes, I'm going to break the stick over your head.
Oh, is that right?
He never got it,
Wow.
So
I never got it.
Thankfully, those times changed.
You guys made me sit there and watch Scottsy get initiated and threatened me. You said, are you going to say another word the rest of the year? Nope. After watching that, I'm not watching. I'm going to go through that.
Oh, we never got you, Tom, did we?
No, but you threatened me. You made me watch Scottsy. Get it?
Oh.
So I sat in the corner and made me watch. Every once in a while, if I start talking at all, you start whistling the Gillette song. I can't remember how it went.
I know a couple guys in junior that got it, and then one of the guys has ruined his career.
Oh.
That's how bad it was in junior.
Yeah.
But, it was stupid.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of junior, hey, Mike, did you play, I read this morning in New West with the Bruins?
Yes, I did. Yeah, for 5 games, I was.
How'd you end up there?
Actually playing on the Manitoba League in junior. There was a team from Ontario in the Manitoba League, and they called and said, "Come for a 3-game tryout." And it was Ernie McLean, coach, and we were in Lethbridge, Brandon, and I forget some other city for 3 games. And then after the Brandon game, they were going to Flin Flon for two games, and they said they had a couple injuries. We'd like you to come for 2 more games. Well, I said, I don't know. My parents probably won't let me. As I'm saying, I do not want to travel up to Flin Flon for 24 hours. So we get on the phone with my dad, and they want me to go to Flin Flon. And I'm just saying, I'm hoping he's reading in my voice. And he says, so he gives it to Ernie McLean. And I don't even know what my dad said. Ernie McLean said, oh, yeah, you can come. And up we went. 1 pop, 1 hamburger, 1 French fries, the whole trip there. I mean, that's what they Ernie, anyways, we went up there and had two games of brawls, and but I was drafted the next year to the Ontario Hockey League. So and they won the Memorial Cup that year, New West.
Did you play with Brad Smith in Toronto?
I did play with Brad Smith.
There is. You want to know what we did to Cosby. Brad, I can't tell you on air. I'll tell you off the air.
Yeah. Well, listen to me. I played New West every year I played New West. We went to Flin Flon. They used to play 8:00 at night game on Saturday night, and then a Sunday afternoon game at 1:00, right? And at 2:00, we got back to the hotel from the 8:00 game. It was a 5-hour brawl. A 5-hour game. I was fighting the guy, and they had it was just boards on the side. I'm fighting with this guy, and I got punched in the side of the head and the back. I'm going like, how the hell did this guy punch me in the head there? And I'm looking around I'm looking like this for another guy on the ice. Guy in the stands was drilling me. And you used to have to walk through the crowd, right, to get in that old rink to get to the ice, and they'd bomb you with eggs.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
That Western Canada, that Western Junior League was like
that was
no holds barred, right?
Oh, it was insane back then. My last year junior, I think we had 25 bench clearing brawls.
And the travel.
The travel was nuts.
Oh.
Yeah.
We used to play 11 games in 13 nights. So we'd go from Kamloops to Edmonton, to Saskatoon, Flin Flon, Brandon, Winnipeg for 2, back to Brandon for another one, then to Regina, then to Swift Current, then to Medicine Hat, and then Calgary, and then fly home.
Wow.
13 days.
Is it still like that in the Western League with travel now?
No, well, they kind of split because it's a big area, right? So they kind of split the east and the west out west,
right.
You know.
Right.
And they have, but they're a little more sophisticated than we were back then. You get on the bus and you had that French fries and the hot dog or hamburger and a Coke. That was a lot. That was your pregame meal.
Wow. No, that's.
So, Red, was your brother coaching for a while, Dave?
My brother coached. Yeah, he coached last year over in Germany. So he's still coaching.
Oh, okay. Good.
So he is loves the game. Just has a passion for it. That's what his and he has coached at every single level.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for him.
Yeah. He actually Germany shut down just when they were going to the playoffs. Because of COVID, and he has originally was in Des Moines. That's where his home base was, but he has a cabin up in that you have to boat to. So he said he'd never ever been up there for ice out. So ice out can take about 3 weeks here. So you can't get on the ice. So he took up 5 weeks of supply of food and gas, and off he went. And for 5 weeks he was up there just with 2 dogs. Wow. Just keeping the fire going to keep warm.
Wow.
Drilling a hole in the ice to get his water. So it was
that's cool.
It's kind of like where I grew up.
Ron grew up just close to Climax. Dave, last week when you were on, we were talking about Climax, Saskatchewan.
Of course you were.
Yeah. we have Rick Middleton on. He was talking about Gordy Kluzak being from Climax, Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Of course you were. Was Duke's involved in that conversation?
No, actually, Duke's computer broke last week. Still broke.
And this week he's fishing.
That was probably a good thing. That was probably a good thing.
So, Red, like I told you last week, we were talking about Ron's old girlfriend, Chloe, and you never met her, right?
No.
It's a little bit of a mystery. Like, I think it's something we got to keep going here.
If you didn't meet her and he was there at the same time as you,
well, I thought maybe you excluded me from that relationship. That's all.
I tried, but you always came around.
Hey, Chris, was that the rich girl from the island?
Rich girl from New Jersey.
Rich, she was a wealthy girl, right?
There you go.
That was another one. That was.
I'm telling you.
This was from New Jersey. She was a rich one from New Jersey.
And it was another rich one from Jersey, another rich one from Westchester, but whatever. Sometimes it was New York. I mean, like you have a nice time. Like, I hate what's happening to the city right now. It's like I wish it was up and running. It's a lot of fun.
Why? Did you find cool?
I mean, now it's like 5 o'clock dinners and stuff, but it used to be didn't go out till 11 a long time ago.
Gosh, you've turned into quite a cook too, right? Aren't you cooking a lot now, like vegetables and all that?
I love cooking. I love cooking. I think it's like you can make it the way you like it.
Right.
I think there's some things that happen in this, besides the people passing away, some good things happened.
Yeah.
A lot of family time and a lot of things that I just feel bad for any families that lost anybody.
Yeah. Red, are you a cook? You cook?
No.
Your wife cooks?
She does. It's amazing how you fall into those roles, because I was single till I was in my 40s, and did all my cooking. Loved to cook for my fiance at the time, and as soon as we got married, she seemed to take over the role of cook, and we seemed to fall into those.
Where's she from? She's from there?
Yeah, she is from Fort Francis. Yeah. Now she moved back when in her mid-30s from Toronto. That's where she was living. Had got divorced and moved back here, and that's where we met back in Fort Francis.
So were you pretty romantic when you asked her to get married and everything? You down the one?
I was. Third date. Been single all my 40.
He was
and third date. I said, "Pardon me."
Mike was writing poetry in LA, so it was probably a pretty touching moment when he proposed. I would say that kind of inner spirit. Hey, Mike, do you ever strap on the blades anymore?
I don't.
Yeah,
Tommy's
probably the only one. Tommy, you still playing the alumni things, right?
Yeah, I play in the alumni stuff. Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah, well, him and Dukes still think they can play. Well, maybe not Tommy, but Dukes does.
Dukes definitely does. I tell everybody, they always put Dukes and I on opposite teams. And I tell all the guys on my team, if nothing else happens, we can't let Duguay score a goal.
Oh.
I said, it's all right to hit him, do whatever you want to do. And they get all fired up. They're running around trying to Dukes. Then Dukes is getting mad. He's taking slap shots and everything.
That's when we were playing a game out in by Coney Island. So I said to these guys, I was coaching the team and playing on the team. I go, everybody check Duguay. Do not let him. Doesn't matter. I don't care where it is on the ice.
Yeah.
Send 2 guys at him, 3 guys at him. I don't care if the other guys score 100 goals. Dukes was getting so frustrated. He was starting to push guys.
Oh yeah.
Like he was like, "What the hell?" I go, "Hey."
That's funny. It's funny.
But the game is very fast today, right, Mike?
Red.
That's Dave. Dave's the one following it. Is there watching all the time, talking about it.
Yeah. But do you still watch it all, Mike? Do you follow the game?
Not too much anymore. I always turn the game on for about 10, 15 minutes, and then I might come back to it. But it's I just try to pick up the radio broadcast from the Rangers.
There you go.
That's what I like to hear.
I'm telling you, we got to have this guy back every
week.
Dukes is done. Back every week.
Dukes is done. Dukes wasn't doing anything for us. He talked about Studio 54. Now there's nothing else going on, so we're going to keep Red on. Yeah.
New part of the show.
Yeah.
It sure is a lot faster. I think we all agree with that.
What do we all think of the 24 team little tournament they got going? You guys like it?
Yeah, I do. I think that somebody said to me, "Well, it's not going to be. They got to put an asterisk by the Stanley Cup." I go, "There's a whole bunch of words I used, and that you can't use on here. You win the Stanley Cup, you win the Stanley Cup."
Yeah.
So you mean that because was it 95 when they had a partial season?
05, 4 or 5, yeah.
94, 95.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And the Devils won it. That's an asterisk. It's just the way the things work out. You let it go the way it is. And listen to me, you're playing a best of 5, then 4 best of 7. If you win it, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
No, it is. So what if there should be an asterisk beside everything we're doing now, right?
Yeah.
Because this is such an unusual time, and I give the league credit. They've got an idea what they want to do. Now there's got to be a lot of things got to fall into place for this thing to get pulled off, but at least they're talking to one another and trying to get this thing back into the mainstream a little bit.
Well, the thing that's interesting too, the baseball is trying to come back, and there's a lot of talks about negotiating a new deal now, how much less the players are going to make. And I think a lot of people forget with hockey, I think it's a real compliment to the players. They've gotten paid all their money. So they're not coming back to earn money for this. They're coming back to try to win the Stanley Cup. which is pretty unique, right? I mean, you got one league fighting over money, the other guys are wanting to come back and play, and they're not they get a bonus if they win the Stanley Cup, but they're not coming back to make any money. So I think that's pretty good for the players.
No, I love it. I think my mother's going to be 98 this year, and her thing was, she said they should play hockey 12 months a year, like have 2 Stanley Cups every year. She said that's her favorite thing to do is watch a hockey game.
Yeah.
And now she finally got it.
Good for her.
Yeah.
No, I think it's again, it's an interesting time we're in, how it all shakes out. But if you're going to stand up to the plate and come up with an idea, I think you should be commended. I think the league should be commended for saying, you know what, we're going to try and do it and see how it plays out.
I think it'd give everyone hope too if it runs.
Right.
You know, I mean, yeah, it really would be nice for society to be able to say that
Exactly.
National Hockey League or sports comes back, and even if it is just no fans yet, but it gives you something to. This is the time of year when if I'm watching hockey because of the playoffs. So it'd be nice to see it.
Yeah, you're right. It'd be something more normal, right? Like right now, it just feels like we're just stuck in this thing. It's never going to end. So I agree with you.
No, I love it. I think it's great. I want it back.
So real quick, Red, going back to you getting engaged, like were you down on one knee? Can you reenact that for us, or?
Honey, where are you? I know you're listening. You know what? When you meet that person, it's wonderful, Tom. And I'm not letting you take this from me. I'm not letting you take it from me.
That's right. Get them out of your head, Mike. Don't
Exactly.
Get them out of there.
Yeah.
Well, Red, I think what you should do, Red, is you should ask Tommy what happened in Windsor.
No, we don't tell that
See
story.
if he can answer that one. That's the only line I know that shuts Laidlaw up.
There's no, I don't know. Ron's made up the manufacturer. We call Ron the manufacturer. He manufactured this story about something happened in Windsor.
Well, should we start on it now and then?
No, we should just start about Chloe.
That were there.
We just start talking about Chloe. That's all.
Oh, okay. So
that's right, Tommy. This is your show, so
yes,
you can talk whatever you want.
That's right. I've got the big button here. I've got the end recording.
That's right. He's got the button. We're just
we're
the grasshoppers.
Yeah, there you go. So, Red, I'll tell you, it's great to have you on. I know I had a blast playing with you, and I know you kind of are humble about your career, but I thought you had a fantastic career, and you're great to play with. You're a great teammate. So, great to see you again. Good to see you doing well.
Wonderful to see you, Tom, and all of you. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks.
We're gonna have to have you back on. Seriously, if we get rid of Dukes, we'll have you back on.
Yeah, we're getting rid of Dukes. You're in, Mike, so stay by the computer.
Yeah.
Back.
Dukes who?
Yeah,
exactly. Dukes is going for the 3-hour tour. Maybe they end up on Gilligan's Island or something like that.
He's probably with Tina Louise.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think he's Gilligan or Thurston Howell?
Oh, he's still Thurston Howell. Yeah. Who's he going to like, though? He'll have both the girls, right? Is there Ginger and Marianne or whatever?
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway. All right, Mike. Listen, good luck.
Great.
It's great seeing you again.
Thanks, Red.
Wonderful, Mike. Thank you.
Good to see you, Red.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Yes, sir. See you.
Okay, absolutely.
See you, Gresh. Later, Tommy.